students. So we have here two sets of grades from Class A and Class B. So in order to get the norm reference grading with a 7-point scale and 8-point scale, we need to arrange each grade from highest to lowest. So now let's have the 7-point scale. So 90 to above is outstanding. 91 to 84 is satisfactory. 83 to 76 is fairly satisfactory. 75 to 68 is poor, and 67 below is failing. So now, why is it 91 to 84? It is because we need to subtract 91 to 7. That's why it is 91 to 84, and so on and so forth. So 90 to above or outstanding, Class A got 1, and for Class B got 0. For 91 to 84 or satisfactory, Class A got 10, Class B got 13. And for 83 to 76 or fairly satisfactory, Class A got 9 and Class B got 8. And for 75 to 68, which is poor, Class A got 2 and Class B got 2. And to 67 below or failing, Class A 0 and for Class B 0. So now let's get the remarks of each grade of the students. So for the 90 to above or outstanding, let's have pass, 10 to satisfactory, pass, fairly satisfactory, pass, poor, pass, and for 67 below or failing, fail. So this is how we got the 7-point scale of Class A and Class B grade.
Question for number 1. Using a norm reference grading with a 7-point scale, determine the scores that would get a failing mark. What is your general comment on this? So, using the data that we have gathered on a 7-point scale, we determined that there is no failing mark because the lowest grade is 75. Though it is the lowest mark, but it is considered as passed. So, our general comment on this is norm reference grading with a 7-point scale is this number sets that all students in this number is passed because it is all based on the overall performance of the class. So this system focuses on the relative standing within a group rather than individual achievement. So we conclude that is why we conclude that no students got a failing mark.
Now let's proceed to the 8-point scale. We have the 90 to above, which is the outstanding, 91 to 83, which is satisfactory, 82 to 74, fairly satisfactory, 73 to 65, which is poor, then 64 below, which is failing. So why is it 91 to 83? It is because we subtract the 91 to 8. That's why, and that's how it's 91 to 83, and so on and so forth. So now let's proceed to getting the scores of Class A and Class B. In 92 above outstanding, the Class A got 1, while the Class B got 0. In 91 to 83 or the satisfactory, the Class A got 11, while the Class B got 13. So
So, in 82 to 74, or the fairly satisfactory, the class A got 10. While the class B got also 10. In 73 to 65, which is 4, the class A got 0. While the class B got also a 0 scores. And lastly, the 64 to below, which is the failing, the class A got 0. While the class B got also a 0. So now let's get the remarks. We have here the 92 above or the outstanding got pass. And 91 to 83, which is the satisfactory, got also pass. And 82 to 74, which is the fairly satisfactory, also got pass. And 73 to 65, which is 4, which got failed. And lastly, 64 to below, which is the failing, got also failed. And that's how we got the 8-point scale.
So question number 2. Using a norm reference grading system with an 8-point grading scale, determine the scores that would get a failing mark. How is it compared to the previous grading system used? So, using the data that we have gathered on the 8-point scale, same as in number 1, we determined that there is no failing mark in 8-point scale grading. Though the lowest grade is 75, but the 75 belong to the 82 to 74 and its descriptor is fairly satisfactory. So, meaning to say, it is passed. In comparison to 7-point scale, both of them have no failing mark. However, both of them differ on the descriptor because in previous grading, 7-point scale, the 75 is belong to the group of 75 to 68, which is the descriptor is 4. And in 8-point scale grading, the 75 belong to the group of 82 to 74, which is fairly satisfactory. So, to sum it up, both 7 and 8-point grading scale grading demonstrate how norm reference grading system can create a variation in passed or failed or outstanding or failing outcome based purely on the number of group of the students rather on the actual student performance.
Task 1B. Compute the grade of a student in 1. Grade 7 English with the following row scores. So, for written work, the student got 72 out of 90. In order to get the percentage score, we need to divide the 72 to 90 and multiply it to 100. So we got the percentage score equals to 72 divided by 90 and multiply to 100. So 72 divided by 90 is 0.8 and multiplied into 100 is over 80. So the percentage score for written work is 80. Now, in order to get the weighted score, we need need to multiply the 80 to 30%. 80 times 0.30 is equals to 34. So the weighted score of written word is 24.
So the performance task is 86 out of 110. To get the percentage score is we need to divide the 86 divided by 110 multiplied by 100. So percentage score is 86 over 10 times 100. And it will become 78.18. So to get the weighted score is we need to multiply the 78.18 multiplied by 50%. And it will become 39.1. So the weighted score of performance task is 39.1.
Next is the score in quarterly test. So the student got the score of 67 out of 85. In order to get the percentage score in quarterly test, we need to divide the 67 over 85. So this is how you solve for the percentage score quarterly test. 67 divided by 85. Then we have to multiply it by 100. So 67 divided by 85, the answer is 0.788. And when we multiply by 100, the answer is 78.8. Since we need to round off the 78.8, it will become 79. Next is, in order to get the weighted score of quarterly test, we need to multiply the 79 to 20%. So, weighted score equals 79 times 0.20 is equals to 'So the weighted score is 15.8. In order to get the initial grade, we need to add the weighted score of written work, the weighted score of performance task, and the weighted score of quarterly test. So 24 plus 39.1 plus 15.8. The answer is 78.9. So the initial grade is 78.9. And the transmitted grade of 78.9 is 86. And that's how we compute the grades of the student in grade 7 English.
Now, let's compute the number 2. Grade 10 student in mathematics with the following row scores. So, for written word, the student got 34 out of 55. in order to get the percentage score, we need to divide the 34 to 55 and multiply to 100. Percentage score, 34 divided by 55 multiplied by 100. So 34 divided by 55 is equals to 0.61818, and it will multiply by 100, and the answer is 61.82. 61.82 because it is rounded. So now let's get the weighted score for written work. So in order to get the written score, we need to multiply the 61.82 to 40%. We have 61.82 multiplied by 40. So the answer is 24.72. So the weighted score for written work is 24.72.
So the performance task is 40 out of 80. So to get the percentage score is we need to divide the 40 by the 80 and multiply it by 100. So we have here percentage score, the 40, 80 times 100. So if we divided the 40 divided by the 80 is we got 0.5, and then when we multiply it by 100, it will become 50. So to get the weighted score of performance task is we need to multiply the percentage score performance task, which is 50, multiplied by 0.40. We have here the weighted score. The performance task score multiplied by 0.40, and it will become so the weighted score of performance task is 20.
Next is the score in quarterly test in the subject in mathematics. So the student got 38 out of 50. In order to get the percentage score is we need to divide the 38 by 50 and multiply it by 100. So the is percentage score 38, 50 times 100. So it is 38 divided by 50 is equals 0.76. When multiplied by 100, the answer is 76. So the percentage score is 76. Next is we need to get the weighted score. In order to get the weighted score, we need to multiply the 76 into 20%. So weighted score equals 76 times 0.20, and the answer is 15.2. The weighted score for quarterly test is 15.2. Next is the initial grade. In order to get the initial grade, we need to add the weighted score of written work, the weighted score of performance task, and the weighted score of quarterly test. So 24.72 plus 20 plus 15.2. The answer is 15.2. So the initial grade is 59.92. And the transmuted grade is 74. And that's how we compute the grades of a student in the subject of mathematics.
Task 2A. The grading system used in the K-12 is using the front-end equating approach. Assessment scores are immediately converted to a 100-point scale, and then composite marks are averaged and weighted. Kobesisen and Borich 2010. Below are the percentage scored of Miss Maris in Araling Panlipunan for the first grading period. Written works included a concept map, essays, news writing, news or article review, and a couple of reaction papers. Performance tasks were compressed of timelines, news reporting debate, and role play. Complete the table below. Calculate the total of rows scored in each component. Determine the percentage scores or PS. Apply the percentage weighted scores or WS and calculate his first quarter grade. So, here are the possible scores of Marie's written works. For written work 1, she got 18/25. For written work 2, she got 10/20. Written work 3, she got 19/30. Written work 4, 20/20. And written work 5, 22/25. Written work 6, 25/30. And for written work 7, she got a 30/40. So, to get the total, let's add all the possible score of Maris for each written work. We have 18, 10, 19, 20, 22, 25, and 30. 24. So, the total score of Marie's written works are 144. So, to get the percentage score, we need to divide the 144 to 190 and multiply the answer to 100. So, the percentage score is 75.8. To get the weighted score, we need to multiply the 75.8 to 0.30. And the answer is 22.74.
Here are the performance tests of Maris. We have here the highest and the possible score. The possible score of Maris is 16/20 for the performance task 1, and the possible score of 24 out of 30 for the performance 2. Next, we have the 24 out of 30 for the performance task 3. Next is the 28 out of 30 for the performance task 4. So, in order to get the total, we need to add the possible score, the 16, 24, and 28. So, the total score of the performance task in the possible score is 92. So, to get the percentage score is we need to divide the 92 by the 110 and multiply it by 100. So, the possible score of the percentage score is 83.62. So next is we have the quarterly assessment. We have here the, in order to get the percentage score is we need to divide the 30 by 50 and multiply it by 100. So the possible score of the percentage score is 60. So to get the weighted score, we need to multiply it by the 60 times 0.20. So the weighted score is 12. Now we are done in getting the possible score of Marie's performance task.
Question. Suppose Miss Marie's grades in the same subject for the second, third, and fourth quarter are 87, 88, and 90, respectively. Compute her final rating rounded to the nearest unit and give its descriptive equivalent. To answer this problem, we need to get first the initial grades from the weighted score of written work, the weighted score of performance task, and the weighted score of quarterly assessment. So 22.74 and 41.82 and 12. So 22.74 plus 41.82 plus 12 equals 6. 15. 76.5. So 76.5. Then we transmute it. It will become 85. This is the grade for Aral Pan or Araling Panlipunan of Miss Maris. Since we already get the 85 it is the first quarter grade for Araling Panlipunan. First grading 85. Then second, third, and fourth. 87, 88, and 90. We add it together and the total is 350. In order to get her final rating for the Aral Pan, we need to divide the 350 into 4 or by 4. So 350 divided by 4 equals 5 times 4 equals 20, and the total is 87.5. Or it will become 88 because we need to rounded the 87 and it will become 88. So Miss Marie's final rating in Aralpan is 88 and its descriptive rating is passed. Next is the task 2B. The final numerical and descriptive ratings of Jody in other learning areas or subjects are below. Using the results you have obtained above, determine her final average. Since we already got Miss Marie's final rating in Araling Panlipunan, which is 88, we can use Miss Marie's rating, which is 88, to determine Miss Jody her final average. So we transfer the 88 in Araling Panlipunan here, and its remarks is pass. Next is determine her final grade. In order to determine Miss Jody's final average is we need to add the final grade in all learning areas, and we also divide by the number of or subjects in learning areas. So 89 plus 89, 82, 87, 88, 91, 85, and 74 is equals to 685. So the total is 685. To get the final grade is, next is we divide the 685 into 8 subjects. So 685 divided by 8 is equals to 85.625. So the average is 85.6. Okay, right here. And its remarks is passed. And this is how we compute or determine Miss Jody's final average.
So, here is the given instruction for task 3. You are provided a table showing a sample card of a grade 6 student named Rico for the third quarter of the school year 2023 to 2024. Using the discussions of Lesson 8 as your guide, fill up the empty spaces to get the needed data until you're able to compute for his quarterly grade at the last column. So, here are the learning area. We have Filipino, English, Mathematics, Science, Araling Panlipunan, ASP, EPP, MAPE. And for MAPE, we have music arts, physical education, and health. Also, here are the weights of components for grade 1 to 10. To get the weight of Filipino, we need to multiply the written work percentage score, which is 85 to 30%. We have 85 times 0.30. 3 times 5 equals 15. 3 times 8 equals 24 plus 1. So we have 25% for the weight of Filipino. Next, to get the weight multiply the performance task percentage score, which is 81 to 50%. So we have 81 times 0.50. 0, 0, 5 times 1, 5, 5 times 8, 40. So we have 40.5. So we have 40.5. Next is we need to multiply the quarterly assessment percentage score of RICO, which is 75 to 20%. We have 75 times 0.20. 0, 2 times 5, 10. 2 times 7 is 14 plus 1. So we have the weight score of 15. 50. So to get the initial grade, we need to add the weight of written works, the performance task, and the quarterly assessment. We have 25.5, 40.5, and 15. 10, 10, 11, and 8. So we have 81 of RICO's initial grade. We have 81. So to get the quarterly grade, we have to transmute the initial grade, which is 81, and it will become 88. So for English, we have the written work percentage score of 82 multiplied by 30%. So 82 times 0.30. 624. So we have the weight of 24.6. Next, for performance task, we have the percentage score of 77, and let us multiply it to 50%. So 77 times 0.50. 0, 0, 35, 35, 38. So we have the weight of 38.5. So next we have the quarterly assessment percentage score, which is 75, and let us multiply it to 20%. 75 times 20. So we have the weight of 15. Now let's get the initial grade. So we have 24.6, 38.5, and 15. So we have the initial grade of 78.1. The transmuted grade of 78.1 is 86. So for mathematics, we have the written work percentage score of 71 multiplied to 40%. Have 71 times 40. So we have the weight of 28.4. performance task, percentage score of 67 multiplied to 40%. So let's have 67 times 0.40. 26, 8, 6. So we have the weight of 26.8. So for quarterly assessment percentage score, we have 62 multiplied to 20%. 62, 20%. 4. Basta po ba? So we have 12.4 of weight. So now let's get the initial grade. We need to add the 28.4, 26.8, and 12.4. 6, 7, 6. So we have the initial grade of 67.6. 67.6. So the transmuted grade of 67.6 is 79. So next for science, we have the written work percentage score of 76 and we will multiply it to 40%. So we have 76 times 0.40. So 2. So we have the weight of 30.4. Next, for performance task percentage score, we have 79 and we will multiply it to 40%. 79 times 0.40. 0, 3, 6, 1, 2. So we have the weight of 31.6. Next is for quarterly assessment, percentage score of 65 multiplied to 20%. We have 65 times 0.20. 0, 0, 10, 30. So we have the weight of 1330. So now let's get the initial grade. So we have 30.4, 31.6, and 13. Add 10, 5, 7. So the initial grade for Rico Science is 75. So the transmuted grade of 75 is 84.
So in Araling Panlipunan, the written work score is 83. To get the weight is we need to multiply it by 30%. We have the 83 times 0.13 and then 0, 0, 9, and 24. So the weight is 24.9. In Araling Panlipunan, our performance task percentage score is 83. So to get the weight, we need to multiply it by 50%. So let's have 83 times 50.50, 0, or 15, 41. So we have the weight is 41.5. So in Araling Panlipunan, quarterly assessment is 83. So in order to get the weight, we need to multiply it by 20%. So we have here 83 times 0.20. So we have the weight is 16.6. We need to add the 24.9, 41.5, 16.6. So the initial grade is 83. The transmitted grade in 83 is 89. In ESP, in order to get the weight of written word percentage score of 84 is we need to multiply the 84 by the written word by 30%. 84 times 20. So the weight of ASP is 25.2. So in ESP, the performance task percentage score is 84. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply it by the performance task 50%. So 84 times 50%. So the weight is 42. In ESP, the quarterly assessment percentage score is 84. In order to get the weight, is we need to multiply it by 20%. So the weight is 16.8. In ASP, in order to get the initial grade, we need to add the 25.2, 42, 16.8. initial grade of ASP is 84. The transmuted grade of 84 is 90. So next is the APP. So the written word percentage score is 80. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply it by 20%. So the weight is 16. In EPP, the performance task percentage score is 84. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply it by 60%. So the weight is 50.4. In EPP, the quarterly assessment percentage score is 77. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply it by 20%. So the weight is 15.4. So in order to get the initial grade, we need to add the 16, 50.4, and 15.4. So the initial grade is 81.8. So the transmuted grade of 81.8 is 88.
Now, let's proceed to the learning area of MAPE, wherein it composed of music, arts, physical education, and health. And to get the weight of music, we need to multiply the written word percentage score, which is 76, into 20%. So, 76 times 0.20 equals 15.2. Next is to get the weight of music of the performance task percentage score is we need to multiply the 77 into 60%. So, 77 times 0.60. Equals 46.2. The quarterly assessment percentage score of music is 75. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply the 75 into 20%. So, 75 times 0.20 equals 15. So, we write here 15. In order to get the initial grade for the music, we need to add the weight of written work, the weight of performance task, the weight of quarterly assessment. So, the total would be the total would be 76.4. And the transmuted grade will be 85. Next is arts, wherein the written word percentage score is 85. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply the 85 into 20%. So, 85 times 0.20. The weight is 17. The performance task percentage score for arts is 81. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply the 81 into 60%. So, 81 times 0.60 is equals to 56.6. Huh? 48 di ay baliktad. Next is the performance task percentage score of arts, wherein it has 81 per 81. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply the 81 into 60%. So, 81 times 0.60 equals 0.648. So, the answer is 48.6. Next is the quarterly assessment of arts. The quarterly assessment percentage score of arts is 80. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply the 80 into 20%. So, 80 times 0.20 equals 16. So, the weight is 16. In order to get the initial grade, we need to add the weight of written work, the weight of performance task, the weight of quarterly assessment, and now let's add. So, 17 plus 48 plus 16. 81.6. And the transmuted grade of 81.6 is 88. Next is the physical education. The written word percentage score of physical education is 80. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply the 80 into 20%. So, 80 times 0.20 equals 60. So, the weight is 16. Next is the performance task. The performance task percentage score of physical education is 80. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply the 80 into 60%. 48. Next is the quarterly assessment. The quarterly assessment percentage score of physical education is 78. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply the 78 into 20%. So, 78 times 0.20, 16. The answer is 15.6. In order to get the initial grade of physical education, we need to add the weight of written work, which is 16, the weight of performance task, which is 48.48, then the weight of quarterly assessment, which is 15.6. So, 16 plus 48 plus 15.6. $79.6. So the answer is 79.6. Then the transmuted grade of 79.6 is 87. Now let's proceed to health. The written work percentage score of health is 85. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply the 85 into 20%. So, 85 times 0.20 equals 17. The answer is 17. Next is the performance task. The performance task percentage score of health is 81. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply the 81 into 60%. So, 81 times 0.60 equals 48.6. So the answer or the weight is 48.6. Now let's proceed to the quarterly assessment. The quarterly assessment percentage score of health is 75. In order to get the weight, we need to multiply the 75 into 20%. So 75 times 20 equals 15. So the weight is 15. In order to get the initial grade of health, we need to add the weight of written work, the weight of performance task, the weight of quarterly assessment. So 17 plus 48.6 plus 15 equals 90 equals 80.6. And the transmuted grade of 80.6 is 87. And that's how we compute RICO's quarterly grade. In continuation of the task 3 is answer the following questions in complete sentences. Number 1 is, what is RICO's composite grade in MAPE? How did you find it? When we say composite grade, it is an average in multiple grades. And to get the composite grade in MAPE, we need to add the initial grades of RICO in music, arts, physical education, and health. And the initial grades are 76.4, 81.6, 79.6, and 80.6. Then we divide it by the number of the subjects, which is 4, because it composed of 4 subjects. So we need to add the initial grades of music, arts, physical education, and health. So 76.4 plus 81.6 plus 79.6 plus 80.6. The total is 318.2. Next is we need to divide the 318.2 into 4. So 318.2 divided by 4. So 31 divided by 4 is 7. 7 times 4 is 28. And 11 minus 8 is 3. Bring down 8. 38 divided by 4 is 9. Then 9 times 4 is 36. Minus 22. Bring down to 22 divided by 4 is 5. Then 5 times 4 is 20. Minus, bring down to, we need to add the other 0. So, bring down 0. 20 divided by 4 is 5. Then 5 times 4 is 20 equals 0. So 1, 2, 1, 2. So the initial grade for MAPE is 79.55. We write here 79.55. And the transmuted grade of 79.55 is 87. And that's how we find composite grade of RICO in MAPE. Number 2 is, in which learning area did RICO perform best during the third quarter? Explain briefly your basis. So, we compare RICO's grades across all learning areas. And the highest quarterly grade is 90, which is achieved in Edukasyon sa Pagpakatao or the ESP. And therefore, we conclude that RICO performed best in Edukasyon sa Pagpakatao with a quarterly grade of 90, and it is the highest grade among all learning area or the subject for the third quarter.
Question number 3. In which learning area does RICO need to improve on? Why so? We look for the lowest quarterly grade of RICO, and as a result, he has the lowest quarterly grade in mathematics, which is 79. So, RICO needs to improve his grade in mathematics as it has the lowest quarterly grade of 79. Question number 4. What does his level of proficiency in Araling Panlipunan signify? So, RICO's quarterly grade in Araling Panlipunan is 89, indicating a high level of proficiency in this subject. RICO's high proficiency in Araling Panlipunan, the quarterly grade of 89, signifies a strong understanding and performance in this subject, which is in the Araling Panlipunan.
Question number 5. Describe RICO's overall performance in the third quarter. How would you communicate to his parents? So, RICO's performance is generally good, with most subjects above 80. However, mathematics needs improvement. So, in overall, RICO's performance is good, excelling his most subject. He showed particular strength in Edukasyon sa Pagpapakatao or the ASP and the Araling Panlipunan or AP. However, he needs improvement in the subject of mathematics of his grade. I would recommend that he seek extra help in this area.
It is really important for teachers to be careful, accurate, and honest when figuring out and recording grades. This makes sure everyone is treated fairly. Students and parents need to trust the grades are right. Teachers should explain clearly on how grades are decided, so everyone will understand. This helps students see how they are doing and lets parents be involved. Being open and honest builds trust and makes learning better. Plus, teachers should talk to students and parents regularly about their progress. So this helps everyone work together to help students succeed.
As a future teacher, we as educators should be more accurate, careful, and be responsible in honest recording and computing the grades because that's our duty, and to be fair with the students. Also, if we do honest students, we must also be honest because one mistake will do the bigger consequences. Therefore, we should make it be careful. As for the parents and students, we should involve collaboration and consultation for parents to student grades and teachers to build trust and connections and also concerns. As a future educator, we should be mindful in terms of computing grades for it can involve complex and consequence for the students with the involvement of their emotions.
It is very crucial for teachers to be responsible, careful, accurate, and honest when recording and computing the grades, for it ensures fairness and trust in the learning process. Accurate grading reflects students' true progress and it helps them to improve. On the other hand, transparency with the student and parents promotes open communication, reducing misunderstanding, and promoting accountability. When teachers maintain this kind of character, they not only support students in academic growth, but they also build a positive and respectful learning environment. In my view, honesty and accuracy is not just about writing number on for grades in a report card, but they're also being fair and supporting students' progress. And when teachers have this kind of qualities, they help to create an environment where trust and respect exist, and it will contribute a positive experience, or it contribute a positive learning experience for students.